The cross. It's a symbol we see literally everywhere. But if we're honest, its meaning can feel a little distant, maybe even intimidating. Is it all just about suffering? Well, in Carmelite spirituality, it's something so much deeper, so much richer than that. So let's dive in and really unpack how the Carmelites see the cross, not as some grim endpoint, but as a doorway to the most profound love you can possibly imagine. It really all starts with this, one of the most famous and, let's face it, most challenging invitations in history. Jesus doesn't say, hey, admire my cross from a safe distance. He says, take up your cross and follow me. See that? It's an active, personal call. It's an invitation to a completely different way of life. So what is he really asking us to do here? Does this just mean we're supposed to grit our teeth and endure hardship? The great Carmelite saints would say, whoa, no, not at all. That's missing the point entirely. The answer they discovered is pretty radical, and honestly, it changes everything about how we look at our day-to-day struggles. So here's our game plan for unpacking this. We're going to look at 4 key ideas. We'll start with the absolute heart of the matter, then we'll get into the why, a revelation of love. After that, we'll see how this pushes us beyond just comfort, and finally, we'll bring it all home with something called the little way.
Okay, first things first. For the Carmelites, the cross is not some optional advanced level course in spirituality you can take or leave. Nope, it is the curriculum. It's the absolute center of a life that's aiming for real, authentic love and union with God. In other words, it's the path itself, not an obstacle on the path.
So now we get to the really big question, the why. How on earth can an instrument of torture be a sign of love? It sounds like a contradiction, right? Well, the Carmelites completely reframe this. They help us see the cross not just as something that happened once in history, but as a window into the very nature of God. And this is a total game changer. The cross isn't about God demanding pain from us. Far from it. It's about the inner life of God, this eternal, joyful exchange of self-giving love between the Father, Son, and Spirit, suddenly becoming visible, becoming tangible in a human life. It's God pulling back the curtain and showing us who He truly is. And what this reveals is a fundamental law of reality, something we can call the law of self-giving. It's this wild paradox that just like a grain of wheat has to fall into the ground and die to produce a huge harvest, we find our truest, most joyful selves not by grabbing and clinging to things, but by giving ourselves away in love. The great Carmelite mystic, St. John of the Cross, had this incredible image for it. He didn't see the cross as a dead end or a brick wall. He saw it as a stairway to heaven. It's the very thing we use to climb higher. So how in the world does that work? Well, St. John taught that every trial, every single frustration, every difficult moment is actually a golden opportunity. When we choose to embrace them instead of running away, they act like a fire that purifies us. They burn away all our selfish attachments, all the junk, and they make room inside us for a deeper union with God's own self-giving love. Okay, so that's the big picture theology. But what does this actually feel like? This brings us to our third point, which is all about how this principle challenges us to actually mature in love, to move beyond just feeling good all the time. You can think of it like this. There are 2 basic mentalities. You've got the crowd mentality. These are the people who followed Jesus when he was multiplying loaves and fishes and healing people. It felt good. There were obvious benefits. But then you have the disciple mentality. These are the ones who stuck with him at the cross, when it was hard and there was nothing in it for them. Carmelite spirituality is always asking us, are we in the crowd or are we disciples? Do we love God for the good feelings or do we love him just for who he is? And another giant of Carmel, St. Teresa of Avila, gives us this brilliant analogy. She says that when we're starting out, prayer can feel like a beautiful, well-watered garden. God gives us lots of good feelings, what she calls consolations. But, she says, as we grow, sometimes God turns off the water, and the garden starts to feel really, really dry. And right there, that's the crucial test of love. What do you do when the feelings are gone? When prayer feels like a chore and God seems a million miles away? For St. Teresa, choosing to remain faithful right in the middle of that dryness is the very thing that purifies our love. It's how we prove we're there for him and not just for the spiritual highs he can give us. Now, I know this might all sound super mystical and intense, like it's meant for saints living in a monastery somewhere. But this last section, this is where we bring it all right down to earth, right into our kitchens, our offices, our daily commutes. This is where the cross becomes radically accessible to absolutely everyone. And we have Saint Therese of Lisieux to thank for this. She gave us what she called the little way. She had this revolutionary insight that you don't have to go looking for some huge, dramatic sacrifice. The real path of the cross is hidden in all the tiny, constant opportunities for self-denial that fill every single one of our days. And just look at these examples. They're so ordinary, right? Dealing with that one annoying person in the community, or for us, a coworker. Having a headache, getting frustrated when something breaks. Choosing not to say that sarcastic comeback. Finishing a boring task without complaining. For her, these were the little crosses. And here's the crucial part. It's all about how she saw them. She didn't see them as annoyances to just be tolerated. She saw them as opportunities. She had this incredible image of gathering up these little sacrifices, these small acts of love, like you'd gather wildflowers to make a beautiful bouquet for someone you love. And this is exactly why she called her little way an elevator to holiness. She figured, why take the long, hard stairway of heroic deeds when you can just hop in an elevator? And that elevator is powered by nothing more than small, simple acts of love, done over and over, that lift the soul straight to God. So you see, we've come full circle. We started with this huge cosmic law of self-giving that we see on the cross, and we've ended up with the little way, which shows us exactly how that grand, epic love is actually lived out and proven, not in one big moment, but in thousands of tiny, concrete choices we make every single day. And so that really leaves us with just one final thought. If every frustration, every annoyance, every small chance to choose love over our own comfort is actually a flower just waiting to be picked, where are those flowers hiding in the rest of your day today?